From prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. You can catch new episodes throughout the day at Creature Guide Live on Rumble and YouTube. Now, let's get into the news of the day, starting with an article by Outdoors.com. Oh boy, what do we have here? Alaska garbage truck driver chases moose and gets canned. What? Why would you do that? Like, was okay, maybe it was a threat to somebody who was attacking one of the neighbors, or I mean, that I could understand. A video from the Nextdoor app has been circulated on the internet after a resident of Anchorage, Alaska, captured a garbage truck driver aggressively chasing a moose down the street. The concerned citizen contacted Northern Waste. The driver's employer and the driver was fired. Uh, Okay. According to a Facebook post by the waste management company on December 31st. So far, it doesn't look like the moose was hurting anybody. Um, Whoever this truck driver was just ended up chasing down the moose. In the video, the employee drives recklessly close to the moose, honking repeatedly until the moose and the truck reach the end of the block. When the moose turns and goes in a different direction, the garbage truck driver finally backs off. Go away. That moose looks like it's moving at full throttle. So it's gonna be like 30 or 35 miles an hour. Jeez. Yeah, just got over the snow and relaxed. Well, that's insane if this was really if that was just purposely chasing the moose. Taylor Summers of Anchorage, Alaska, originally posted the video on Nextdoor with the caption, "Who taught this driver that this was okay?" No, I think he just did it out of anxiety. I called Northern Waste and sent this video to them. They were not happy. In fact, the company was incensed, at least by the look of the company's posts on social media, which repeatedly mentioned that Alaskans do not tolerate this reckless behavior toward wildlife. I think that's it for. Oh, as previously posted, it has been brought to our attention that a Northern Waste driver was caught driving recklessly through a neighborhood today, harassing a moose running down the street. The person is no longer employed by Northern Waste. We are Alaskans and will not tolerate this behavior, recklessness, and cruelty. This is the first time anything like this has happened, and we are committed to making sure this will never happen again. We promise to uphold our Alaskan values and all business practices. We have contacted Alaska Department of Fish and Game and are implementing further wildlife sensitivity and safety training for all drivers. We are working to reply to all social media comments, messages, texts, and phone calls. Northern Waste further stated on December 31st that it will schedule a call after the holiday weekend to discuss the incident. We are implementing further wildlife sensitivity and safety training for all Northern Waste drivers, and we are committed to making sure this will never happen again, Northern Waste reiterated in a separate post. The video on Nextdoor garnered nearly 300 comments from other concerned neighbors. Outrage was nearly ubiquitous among those who commented. Okay, is that it of it? Hmm. Well, yeah, this this was insane. I rarely heard of Alaskans, running down a moose. So, oh, um, yeah, I really thought originally it was because the moose was inflicting harm to somebody. Um, but no, it seems like it's just completely done on purpose. So, let me know what your thoughts are on this insane chase over an acreage. And thank you for joining Creature Guy Live. Now, let's move on to the next article by Sci News. Unusual bone bed in Arizona reveals North America's earliest known pterosaur. Paleontologists have unearthed the fossilized jawbone of a new pterosaur species alongside hundreds of other fossils, including one of the world's oldest turtles at a remote bone bed in Petrified Forest National Park in Arizona, the United States. Okay, well, this is good to hear. So, this is over in the more famous Petrified Forest National Park over in Arizona, where we find a lot of different species of petrified conifer or petrified tree within different fossil formations of this national park. Some dating to different parts of the Triassic period, so over 215 million years ago. So here we have more of the terrestrial turtles. These were not really even semi-aquatic. These were very well adapted for the desert environments that occurred throughout parts of Pangaea at this point. So we also here have the small pterosaurs. During the Triassic period, they didn't reach much more than 2.5 feet when looking at the wingspan. Probably weighed in some instances maybe a few ounces. Yes. So over here on the left, let's see who this might be. Yeah, many of these pterosaurs also had very conical like teeth, meaning that they specialized in small species of fish. They might even go after different species of insects as well and scavenge. They were primarily carnivorous. This is also before plants like different types of fruit or even flowers would evolve. That's interesting. You got a fish, but there's several frogs around him. It's a good representation. An artist's reconstruction of Eotephrodactylus mcintyri. So this is Eotephrodactylus. Yeah, it looks good. Like the overall reconstruction. Nice feet. Okay, I'll be honest. I mean, they're just very distinct for a pterosaur. Other animals and plants found preserved in a remote bone bed in Petrified Forest National Park in Arizona, the United States. The newly identified pterosaur species, Etephrodactylus mcintyri, lived in what is now Arizona during the late Triassic period, some 209 million years ago. Okay, so this is in one of the later groups of the Triassic period within the one of the formations. I'd say where specifically this is found within the national park. The winged reptile would have been small enough to comfortably perch on a person's shoulder, said Dr. Ben Kligman from Smithsonian Institution's National Museum of Natural History and his colleagues. What was exciting about uncovering the specimen was that the teeth were still in the bone, so I knew the animal would be much easier to identify, added Suzanne McIntyre, a preparator who volunteered at the National Museum of Natural History's fossil lab for 18 years. The tooth-studded jaw revealed crucial clues about how the earliest pterosaurs lived. Usually, if you find different species of pterosaur within these different layers of the different Triassic sediments, they tend to be fish eaters. Because the tips of the teeth were worn down, we concluded that the pterosaur likely fed on the site's fish, many of which were encased in armor-like scales. Eotiphrodactylus mcintyri coexisted with giant amphibians, armored crocodile relatives, frogs, and turtles. Yeah, there were a variety of different species of larger amphibians, at least compared to today, that even existed like from the Carboniferous, at least from like different types of families into the Triassic. Once the Jurassic hit, some of them died off, but you still have certain larger amphibians that would make it into the late Cretaceous. Armored crocodile relatives. So what this is referring to is the different lineages of archosauromorphs that would become the different carnivorous, at least into the late Triassic, the Rausuchians, the Pseudosuchians. So you would have certain species that could reach over 30 feet in length and weigh somewhere around 2.5 tons. They preyed on pretty much any plant-eating dinosaur there was at that time. The largest dinosaurs you would find into the late Triassic didn't reach much more than like 26 feet in length and probably weighed some around 2 to 3 tons. And we're talking about like the different plateosauromorphs. They would have also preyed on other species of crocodilomorphs within different parts of Pangea or just throughout the different continents. The dinosaurs, at least when looking at the carnivores at this point, they weren't fairly large. You still had different species of Herrerasaurs, some which didn't really exceed much more than 8 feet in length. Still would have preyed on smaller species of dinosaurs, and they also probably weighed some around 90 pounds. Some might have reached a bit larger in size. There were a variety of different species of Herrerasaur that have been found in a variety of continents. And they would have coexisted with the different coelophysids to this point. Now, 209 million years ago, different species of these different coelophysids would have been extinct at this point, especially the more famous Coelophysis bari, which was somewhere around 9 feet in length and probably didn't reach much more than 80 pounds. It died out somewhere around 212 million years ago. So this is like 3 million years afterwards. It did inhabit Arizona. It was just a couple million years earlier. In addition to the flying reptile, the paleontologists uncovered more than 1,200 individual fossils, including bones, teeth, fish scales, and coprolites, meaning fossilized dung. Sometimes, though, it can be a bit complicated to identify whether or not something is coprolite because certain coprolite have actually been confused with tree roots because of their distinct shape and coloring. This assemblage contains 16 different groups of vertebrate animals that once inhabited a diverse ecosystem, they said. That's really good. The region's braided rivers were filled with fish, like freshwater sharks and coelacanths. Oh, okay. So they found coelacanths here too. This is actually a species of fish that's been around since the Devonian over 375 million years ago, and they're still alive today. Now, there also have been different species of freshwater sharks, excuse me, that have been found in a variety of different sediments throughout, like not just the Triassic period, but even like till even to today. We technically have somewhat freshwater sharks, but they can inhabit saltwater too. Some of these were more evolved for freshwater sharks, as for freshwater, as well as ancient amphibians, some of which grew up to 1.8 meters or 6 feet in length. The surrounding environment was home to fearsome reptiles that evolved earlier in the Triassic, including armored herbivores and toothy predators that resembled giant crocodiles. Okay. So this is talking about another branch of Archosauromorph especially the Desmatasuchians, specifically the idosaurs. That's the family of reptiles that these herbivores belong to. When referring to the other toothy predators, I mean, maybe it's referring to the possibly the Rausuchians, Pseudosuchians I was mentioning earlier. Some of these were semi-aquatic, so had a bit of an alligator-like lifestyle, and some of these were more terrestrial, especially when you look at animals like Postosuchus. It was more of a terrestrial-based predator. Wasn't anywhere near though like the largest of these predators at the time. Postosuchus also inhabited much earlier in the Triassic, like somewhere around 220 million years ago within Arizona. Um, see who else? Oh, so the dinosaurs like Desmatasuchus, you had so these were the herbivores, and they had a very pointed, distinct, narrow snout that was probably used to help dig out roots and tubers underneath the soil. They probably would have fed on a variety of different species of horsetails, or technically horsetail is just another branch of ferns, and they had these distinct curved elongated spikes at the front of at least on top of their shoulder blades. Now it is a debate as to whether or not these would have been used for defense, because in some instances they seem to be quite brittle. Now the tail on the other hand was covered in a variety of different armored spikes, but very distinct in what you see in different species of like the ankylosaurs of the dinosaur lineage, because the itosaurs were quite distantly related to any branch of dinosaurs. So, but looking at that specific tail and the armor it has, more closer to a nodosaur, but it very likely was used for defense. He could have also just simply laid down and just simply wait for the predator to go away. Um, just because the armor would have prevented any soft flesh from being exposed for the most part. Okay, let's see. Oh, they also reached somewhere the idosaurs like Desmatasuchus could reach somewhere around 15 feet in length and might have weighed probably around 5 to 800 pounds. The surrounding environment was home. Oh, I already said that. The newly discovered bone bed is part of the upper. Oh, yay! The Chinle Formation at Petrified Forest National Park. Okay, here we've got several groups. So we found animals like I think the dicynodonts like Placerius. So these were somewhat proto mammals at the time, and so it's very possible that they had a light fur like covering. Um, they also had distinct tusks sticking out of the front of their snout. Some of these animals could have weighed close to 2,500 pounds, and they might have been the food source occasionally for the different crocodilomorphs, like the Smiloteuthis, which even animals like Postosuchus had to watch out for. This was around 220 million years ago in Arizona, and Smiloteuthis could probably reach a length of close to 20 feet, and was also um, about the size of Placerius from looking at the weight, so it could weigh over a ton as well. So as big as today's saltwater crocodiles, though it had very distinct skull, unlike today's crocodilians. It had these very distinct teeth at the very front of its snout, which is not something that you find in present day crocodilians. And it also has a bit of a impression, and like an elongated impression on the tip of its snout as well. So it has a very distinct skull structure, unlike today's crocodilians. But this also goes for different crocodilomorphs at the time too. The okay, petrified. Okay, this part of northeastern Arizona was positioned in the middle of the supercontinent Pangea and sat just above the equator 209 million years ago. The researchers said. The area's semi-arid environment was crisscrossed by small river channels and likely prone to seasonal floods. These floods washed sediment and volcanic ash into the channels. One of these floods likely buried the creatures preserved in the bone bed. The site is so rich in small fossils that excavating them all in the field was impossible. According Oh, yeah, there are many instances. Let's say there was a massive flood that occurred. You could have it where there are thousands of different animals within a single area. Now, in some instances, you can have it to where also their bones are completely mixed up with each other. So it can be also just quite a hassle to figure out who's who, but definitely just piece it all together. Some instances, you just can't do it. According to the team, the new site helps fill in a gap in the fossil record that predates the end Triassic extinction. Okay, so the Chinle Formation is not a new fossil site. This has been known for several decades. It's just this specific find that they found within the Chinle Fossil Formation. Around 201.5 million years ago, volcanic eruptions associated with the breakup of the supercontinent Pangaea dramatically altered global climates and wiped out roughly 75% of the species on Earth, the scientists said. Technically, it was already breaking up tens of million years before. It's just there's much more of a separation at this point. Oh, yeah. So throughout the Earth, there could be possibly like tens of thousands of different fossil formations. Or oh, I don't know that. Oh, yeah. When it comes to how many, what would it be? Fault lines or just the different areas that would break up within the continent of Pangea? I do not know that. This cleared the way for newer groups like dinosaurs to diversify and dominate ecosystems worldwide. Here's the thing. By the late Triassic period, like especially when animals like Coelophysis had evolved, dinosaurs had already covered virtually every continent. Now, they did expand and become a variety of different forms. It's probably based on the different types of ecosystems that were forming at the same time. That's probably what drove their evolution. But looking at their just overall geography, no, they were already widespread. This cleared the way for newer groups like dinosaurs. Oh, I said that. Direct evidence of this transition on land is difficult to find due to a lack of terrestrial fossil outcrops from right before the ETE. Um, I'm guessing that's referring to the Triassic extinction event. The site captures the transition to more modern terrestrial vertebrate communities that where we start seeing groups that thrive later in the Mesozoic living alongside these older animals that don't make it past Triassic. So it's referring to the different archosauromorphs and the different proto mammals like the dicynodonts. So relatives of like the Permian Cynognathus, so very just looked like a different version of a dog to an extent, but had hips that would extend out to the side. And the different cynodonts, like the Placarius, there were a variety of different species that were very similar to Placarius, and some species would reach somewhere between 3 to 4 tons. There have been different species been found in different parts of Germany, South Africa, and not just Arizona, which is where Placarius is from. Um, where else? Or what other animals? Oh, this is referring to the idosaurs, the Rausuchians, Pseudosuchians, many different types of crocodilomorphs would go extinct at the end of the Triassic. And the dinosaurs, the pterosaurs would live on, and certain species of mammals. So it is interesting that all of a sudden they just died out. Fossil beds like this enable us to establish that all of these animals actually lived together. Yes, so all these different types of archosauromorphs. With the mammals, and by the way, the pterosaurs are a descendant of the archosaurs too. But yes, they all did coexist with each other. So let me know what your thoughts are on. This is a hard one to say. I mean, it mentioned that we found that new species of pterosaur, the Pterodactylus, and then it showed the turtle, but didn't mention specifically what that species of turtle was. It's also not a close relative of today turtles. It's very far off in the turtle family tree. It belongs to a completely even just different family in general. It's not just a different genus or subfamily. And um, even those amphibians, fish, they all would have had some specific name, but didn't mention it. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Chinle Formation discovery itself in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's move on to the next article by outdoors.com. Oh, I think I know who this is. I know this guy. Rare Colo Colo cat sighting on the trail cam in Chile. Yes, he looks good. He's ready to take down the Viscachas. Those are the Viscachas are small lagomorph species related to the rabbit and what's that other guy? It's not hitting me. Oh, pikas that inhabit different parts of the high elevations of Argentina and Chile. However, the Colo Colo cat inhabits different parts of higher elevations of Brazil, Uruguay, I believe Paraguay, and possibly even different parts of southern Ecuador. Someone else I'm leaving out, maybe even Venezuela. You can find them as somewhere between 6,000 feet to 16,000 feet above sea level. And they're not very large, like the Pampas cat, which is a distinct species of wild cat within, especially the Andes mountain regions of Argentina and Chile. They, or at least the Pampas cat, reaches about what, 15 pounds, whereas the Colo Colo cat, which technically it's a species of Lepardus cat, um, reaches somewhere around uh, 18 pounds, or slightly heavier than the Pampas cat. Also, the Pampas cat, there might only be not the Pampas cat. I think it's the wild Andean cat I was thinking of. The Pampas cat is Lepardos cola. So cola is the species. It's kind of like when we were talking about um the shark megalodon. Technically, people should be referring it to as like a species of Otodus, which is the genus. Um, but people just refer to the species, uh, like all those sharks, the species megalodon, which that's only one species of Otodus. So, um, anyway, let's look at this. A small wild cat called the Colo Colo, Lepardus colocola, or Pampas cat wandered up to a trail camera in Chile and booped it with its little nose. It sniffed the camera, then moved on, and the trail cam footage is as adorable as you'd expect. The Colo Colo project shared the video on Instagram for the world to see. Yeah, Colo Colo cats in parts of South America, and though they're not okay, speaking about their population, the wild Andean cats, it's quite rare. There could be somewhere between 1,500 to 2,000 of them left. And the Colo Colo cats, I think they might be a bit more common than the wild Andean cats.
Somebody asked if this cat hunts camels.
Oh, um, no, usually if you're talking about the specific species of camels that inhabit the Andes, like the guanacos, um, the vicuñas, and then technically you have to count the llamas and alpacas because they're not just a domesticated form like the domesticated Bactrian camel over in Asia. They are two distinct species of South American camel, despite them being domesticated. It's like the domesticated Bactrian camel is a distinct species of camelus over in, or sorry, camelus, at least camelidae over in Asia. So no, even the fawns, it's at least I haven't heard of cats going after young vicuñas or viscacha. Certainly as being fawns, they likely have the ability to do so, but usually they're just going after smaller species of lagomorph within the region, like the different species of viscacha. Okay, let's go down. So this happened on January 4th of this year. Yeah, it is amazing how used to the camera different species of usually North American, European, Asian carnivores tend to be. When you see animals such as deer coming into contact with these cameras, it's almost like they always have in their mind that this is a camera some that a hunter put up to figure out like where the deer are located, and it knows there could be like a tree stand somewhere or um some hunting blind, but all the other animals just tend to ignore it and go, "Oh, okay, so um my live stream it's doing well." Um anyway, this looks good. Was that it? Yeah. Okay. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on the Pampas cat over in the Andes, and thank in the comments, and thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now, let me know what your oh, I already said that. Let's just go on to the next article. Okay, by Sign News study, squids originated and rapidly radiated by 100 million years ago. Um, this might be referring to more closer relatives of today's modern squid, because there were a variety of different families of squid that inhabited the Jurassic oceans, so over 165 million years ago, that were quite distantly related to today's fish. Would have been the prey sources for different species of marine reptiles like the ichthyosaurs, pliosaurs, plesiosaurs at the time. So they were a very important food source for pretty much every marine reptile at that point. The different crocodile like, well, no, different crocodilomorphs, marine crocodiles. Well, technically they're not marine crocodiles, but any the metrorhynchids that would have inhabited the oceans back then. Very narrow, elongated snout. Some of them would have had a very smooth, like skin structure. Some of them would have still have had similar osteoderms like today's crocodile morphs. Crocodilomorphs. For some reason, I've been having issues with that pronunciation. Using an innovative digital fossil mining approach, paleontologists analyzed more than 250 fossil breaks from 40 ancient squid species. Wow. Okay, good. Their results suggest that the radical shift from heavily shelled, slow moving cephalopods. So, this is the massive order of um, it's just organisms in which nautilus, ammonites, squid belong to. Octopi, they're all part of the cephalopod lineage. To soft bodied forms did not result from the end Cretaceous mass extinction around 66 million years ago. Early squids and early squids had already formed large populations, and their biomass exceeded that of ammonites and fishes. They pioneered the modern type marine ecosystem as intelligent fast swimmers. So this is a lithograph showing Loligo forbensi, a species of squid in the order Mysopsidae. Looks good. Squids are the most diverse and globally distributed group of marine cephalopods in the modern ocean, where they play a vital role in ocean ecosystems as both predators and prey. Their evolutionary success is widely considered to be related to the loss of a rigid external shell, which was a key trait of their cephalopod ancestors. Yeah, as you would travel further back into times like the Permian, the Carboniferous, the Devonian, especially into the Silurian and Ordovician periods, so much of the Paleozoic era, many of practically all of the cephalopods had shells, especially the different types of nautiloids that would exist. Some during those times would reach the size of like around at least reaching a length of 11 feet, probably weighed somewhere around 800 pounds. However, their evolutionary origins remain obscure due to the rarity of fossils from soft bodied organisms. The fossil record of squids begins only around 45 million years ago, with most specimens consisting of just fossilized steatoliths, tiny calcium carbonate structures involved in balance. The lack of early fossils had led to speculation that squids diversified after the end Cretaceous mass extinction 66 million years ago. That's interesting. I thought we already knew this. While molecular analysis of living species have offered estimates of squid divergence times, the absence of earlier fossils had made these estimates highly uncertain. In the new study, Hokkaido University paleontologist Shin Ikigami and colleagues addressed these gaps using digital fossil mining, which uses high resolution grinding tomography and advanced image processing to digitally scan entire rocks as stacked cross sectional images to reveal hidden fossils as detailed 3D models. This applied this technique to Cretaceous age carbonate rocks from Japan and covering 263 fossilized squid beaks. Wow. With specimens spanning 40 species across 23 genera and 5 families. Now that is quite impressive. It's the 23 genre and 5 families that I'm pretty impressed by. I mean, the 40 species too, but you can have it where single genus of animal can have 40 species. It's not very common, but it can occur. The findings show that squids originated roughly 100 million years ago, near the boundary between the early and late Cretaceous, and rapidly diversified thereafter. According to the authors, the previously hidden fossil record greatly extends the known origins of both major squid groups. Ogopsidae by about 15 million years and Myopsidae by about 55 million years. Wow. Okay. So Myopsidae got a boost. I mean, so did Ogopsidae, but that's really impressive with Myopsidae. Early Ogopsids displayed distinct anatomical traits that disappeared in later species, suggesting swift morphological evolution. So, by morphological evolution, they're referring to their overall distinct, like especially exterior physiological traits. While myopsids already resembled modern forms. The study also suggests that late Cretaceous squids were more abundant and often larger than coexisting ammonites and bony fishes, an ecological dominance that predates the radiation of bony fishes and marine mammals by over 30 million years. Wow. Oh, that's interesting. Um, Well, I guess that would make sense when referring to the amount of different families of squid that were already known, especially the more distant relatives of today's modern fish. But now we're looking at where they were already existing during the late Cretaceous. So this is very interesting, making them among the first intelligent fast swimmers to shape modern ocean ecosystems. Yeah, you have to have quite a bit of intelligence to be um, this rapid in evolution. In both number and size, these ancient squids clearly prevailed the seas, Dr. Ikegami said. Their body sizes were as large as fish and even bigger than the ammonites we found alongside them. Well, that's interesting. Usually you don't hear about these giant squids back in the Cretaceous. This shows us that squids were thriving as the most abundant swimmers in the ancient ocean. These findings change everything we thought we knew about marine ecosystems in the past. Squids were probably the pioneers of fast and intelligent swimmers that dominate the modern ocean. I don't know how many species of squid exist today. I'll take a look at that later. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on Lake Cretaceous squid in the comments, and thank you for joining Creature Guy Live. Now let's move on to the next article by Outdoors.com. Hikers spot rare herd of animals outside Los Angeles. Hmm. A group of fortunate hikers spotted a rare herd of bighorn sheep just outside of Los Angeles in California's San Gabriel Mountains. Bighorn sheep live in rugged mountainous terrain in places like, okay, well, this refers to the abundance of different subspecies of bighorn sheep. In Southern California, you have, at least in the areas of Death Valley National Park, over, I think, in the sheep wilderness area of, it's just south of Death Valley. So this is towards the southeastern edge of Southern California. The majority, there are three distinct populations within this area, all of them being east of Los Angeles. So you have about what four around 4,000 different desert bighorn sheep of a distinct population, and they're situated with also within the Mojave Desert National Reserve. Then when you migrate west, when you're in the southernmost towards the southernmost part of the state, you migrate west to like Joshua Tree National Park and the protected areas around there. You have a smaller population of desert bighorn sheep, which I believe there's somewhere around 4 to 500 individuals in that region. And then you travel north to the southern part of the Sierra Nevada mountains in like the Sequoia National Park, Sequoia National Forest. There's a variety of different protected areas within this region, which is just west of the northernmost extent of the other desert bighorn population within Southern California. There's around 4 to 500 bighorn sheep within this region. So, or that specific area. The bighorn sheep, so they can reach over 250 pounds. They're not as large as the Rocky Mountain bighorn sheep, or even just different populations that range into different parts of Utah, Wyoming, Montana, over into different parts of Alberta and British Columbia. Also, their herds tend to be much smaller. This is due to just the environment being much more arid. There's less access to food sources, and even the predators in this region, like the different subpopulations of cougars, tend to be smaller than in other areas of um, the United States or just North America in general. So they do have to be concerned, especially when it comes to the kids. No, lambs, the sheep. About bobcats and coyotes in the region, and then the adults, they have to be concerned about cougars. Now, you go back to like the early 1900s, late 1800s, they had to be concerned about brown bears and wolves within the region. Also, there was used to be put out there. Actually, I think it still is occasionally, but Southern California, California in general, used to have like Kodiak brown bears, Kodiak sized brown bears. The um, ecosystem just wouldn't host like that size of an animal, and it doesn't have the consistent large salmon runs of like southern Alaska. So brown bears in those regions probably didn't reach much more than uh, 800 pounds. I mean, it's still a pretty big individual. But you still have black bears within California. There's somewhere around 35,000 to 40,000 black bears in California. This state has the largest, outside of Alaska, has the largest population of black bears. And they do occasionally inhabit the southernmost parts of California, but usually they stick to about as far south as the Santa Monica Mountains. So they do actually quite frequently come into contact with the different suburbs or just neighborhoods of the exterior areas of Los Angeles. So it's actually not uncommon for hikers to come upon them. But bighorn sheep, and especially outside the area, is a lot rarer. Won't my mouse? So the San Gabriel Mountains are home to these wild sheep too, but they're shy creatures, and it's not common to see them there. Deep in the backcountry, these animals find a home nestled in the forests north of the city. wrote LA hikes in an Instagram post sharing multiple photos of the herd. Well, northeast. They are a rare sight for any hiker due to their shy and elusive nature. To find so many at one time is a rare and difficult phenomenon to capture. As we sat there for over half an hour watching these animals do their thing on the cliffs opposite of ours, it was a treat to capture. Enjoy these photos from a glimpse of these animals that are located so close to the city. See the rare herd of animals just outside of Los Angeles here. Yeah, they looked really healthy. Yeah, so there's an ewe, so that's a female bighorn sheep. You can tell just by her distinct physique and her smaller horns. Also, just the shape of her smaller horns too, and the diameter of them. I think this is a young ram, and these two look like they're close to being in their prime. So they might be somewhere around 4 years old. Oh, there's another ewe. Oh, there's another ewe, and there's her lamb. Anybody else? Okay, that's it. Okay, so that was it. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on the desert bighorn sheep in the comments over in Southern California. And thank you for joining Creature Guy Live. Now let's move on to the next article by Sign News. Ar- er, Armored large-bodied lizards lived alongside dinosaurs in Cretaceous North America. I will say though, I don't necessarily at the moment haven't put a lot of time into studying the smaller lizard species within the Mesozoic. So this is going to be an interesting find. New fossilized specimens of monster saurs, including a previously unknown genus and species, Bolgamondal, from the Kaporowitz Formation of Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument, southern Utah. Oh, okay, I know where this is. Reveal unexpected richness of these large-bodied lizards in late Cretaceous North America. Okay, so it's one of these species of lizard that's large enough to seal an egg, possibly of maybe troodontid or some oviraptorid. Well, not an oviraptor; they're not found in North America. Life reconstruction of Bolgamondal. Bolgamondal lived in North America during the Campanian age of the Cretaceous period, around 72 million years ago. So it possibly could have been hunting troodontid eggs. So a species of carnivorous dromaeosaur. The ancient animal represents an evolutionary lineage that sprouted within a group of large body lizards called monstersaurs, the most familiar example being the Gila monsters, which still roamed the deserts where the new species was recovered from. The Monsterosauridae are characterized by their large size and distinctive features like pitted um, polygonal armor attached to their skulls and sharp spire-like teeth, said Dinosaur Institute paleontologist Hank Woolley and colleagues. They have a roughly 100 million year history, but their fossil record is largely incomplete, making the discovery of Bolgamondo a big deal for understanding these charismatic lizards. And Bolgamondo would have been a bit of a monster to our eyes. Almost 1 meter, or 3 feet tip to tail. That's actually a pretty decent size for the lizards. Excuse me. Maybe even bigger than that, depending on the length of the tail and torso. So, by modern lizard standards, a very large animal, similar in size to a savanna monitor lizard, something that you wouldn't want to mess around with. Oh no, there's still several people that would just pick it up. Doesn't look like this animal might have been venomous in any way, and monitor lizards in general are not venomous. An associated skeleton of Bolgamondo, pieces of the skull, vertebrae, girdles, limbs, and the bony armor called osteoderms was collected in 2005 from the Kepperwatz Formation of Utah. Bogomondo is a great example of the importance of natural history museum collections. Other fossils described by the team, including remarkably armored skull bones, demonstrate that the ancient seasonally tropical forests of what is now southern Utah hosted at least 3 different types of large predatory lizards. Hmm, that's interesting. Even I haven't heard of these 3 distinct types of lizards within the Kaparowitz Formation of southern Utah. Even though these lizards were large, their skeletons are quite rare, with most of their fossil record based on single bones and teeth, said Dr. Joe Sturek. Um, yes, so in some cases you would think, oh, well, there have been a variety of these different types of lizards that have been put in different Mesozoic era lizard waste baskets. So that basically means like it can just refer to a certain large family of lizards, and they will just stick it in there. And it could be years before they finally decide to take a look at it and um, put it in a distinct subfamily and even give it a genus and species name. The exceptional record of big lizards from Grand Staircase Escalante National Monument may prove to be a normal part of dinosaur dominated ecosystems from North America, filling key roles as smaller predators hunting down eggs and small animals in the forests of Laramidia. The identification of a new species of monstersaur highlights the likelihood that there were many more kinds of big lizards in the late Cretaceous, the researcher said. Okay, well, actually, they did give this animal a specific genus and species name. Question is, did they give the other 2 specimens, unless they are the genus Bolg? Um, the question is, did they put those other 2 lizards in the wastebasket and they're just monstersaurs? That's happened with a variety of different specimens of titanosaurs when looking at dinosaurs. It's happened with different species of plesiosaurs and definitely different species of pliosaurs, even the Rausuchians and Pseudosuchians from the Triassic. It's even happened with like different types of prehistoric mammals, like a variety of different saber-toothed cat predators have been stuck in different waste baskets, like baskets. Like it's a macrodontomorph, but nothing more specific. Macrodontomorphs are a huge family of predatory cat species. Balg Amondal's closest known relative hails from the other side of the planet in the Gobi Desert of Asia. So, referring to Mongolia, even part of northern China, mostly Mongolia. While dinosaurs have long been known to have traveled between the once connected continents during the late Cretaceous epoch period, the discovery of Bolgamondo reveals that smaller animals also made the trek, suggesting there were common patterns of biogeography across terrestrial vertebrates during this time. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on these lizards that were found over in southern Utah. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live. Now let's move on to the next article by outdoors.com. This doesn't look good. Men save young deer from icy lake in touching rescue story. Oh, okay. It still doesn't look good, but okay. Um, a young deer was minutes from dying when two men pulled her out of an icy lake and into the safety of their boat. The men, Frankie Florida of the Strong Island Animal Rescue League and Ryan Gilmartin of the Evelyn Alexander Wildlife Rescue Center, had to break the ice on the surface of the lake little by little as they tried to reach the deer. Come on, people, edit. As they tried reaching the deer, which had fallen through the ice far from the shore. I don't know specifically where this is occurring. I haven't heard of these wildlife rescue centers. Someone initially spotted the young deer stranded on the icy lake, slipping around, unable to get off. As rescuers were on their way, the deer fell through the frigid water and was treading water. Unfortunately, the ice on the lake was too thin to walk across, but thick enough to keep a boat from moving through. Florida had to smash the ice by hand as Gilmartin propelled the boat forward, inching forward, inching closer and closer to the struggling deer. Watch the dramatic and touching rescue of a young deer from an icy lake here. Yeah, this happens quite often every winter. It's probably occurring in every state where deer occasionally will just fall through the ice, unfortunately. Well, okay, it's probably not happening in many southern states. In the southeastern United States, at least, it's pretty rare. I want to see the action. Okay, here he is, or she. I mean, depending on what time of year this is, could be a male and he just shed his antlers, but it also looks like it could still be a maturing fawn. He's just floating. You just pull him on board. Usually, I'm used to yeah, he's definitely alert. Oh, yeah, he'd be quite cold. Um, but I'm used to, more recent videos where, guys are having to use ropes. Sometimes what was it? They had to pull the deer. Oh, no, they're using a rope too, right? Well, he's doing something else. Yeah, maybe he's anchored, but usually it's like they're having to consistently tie a rope to the deer. Sometimes it's an elk or a moose, which makes a lot of sense. And they actually have to use either a truck or a boat to help pull it off. 'Cause, I don't think three guys out on the ice are gonna have a really tough time pulling an elk over to the shore. But even a full-grown deer like a whitetail, you still have individuals reach over 300 pounds, and it's even more common with mule deer individuals. Hey. Oh, yeah, he is a fawn. Or she. Uh, might be a male. He looks good. Look, I love this time of year. They look so fluffy. It's like, I understand this is the hardest time of year that animals are going through, and in some cases people, but, like, they just look so good. Okay, I'll leave. I think it's just some footage. Okay, well, that's it. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on Bambi in the comments, and thank you for joining Creature Guy Live. Now let's move on to the next article. Also a white-tailed deer, so that's why I call him Bambi. By Sci News, 14,000-year-old Tumat puppies from Siberian permafrost are not early dogs, new analysis shows. The Dumont puppies, two permafrost-preserved late Pleistocene canids, have been hypothesized to have been littermates and early domesticated dogs due to a physical association with butchered mammoth bones. Interesting. Let's keep going. However, a new multi faceted analysis reveals that the puppies were most likely wolves who inhabited a dry and relatively mild environment with heterogeneous vegetation and consumed a diverse diet, including woolly rhinoceros. Wow, geesh, um, this is a completely different look at these two pups. AI pups. Thanks. Yeah, I think so. Yes, AI impression. Oh, well, okay, it's an impression of the puppies. Still, I wanted a drawing. The Tumat puppies are two remarkably well-preserved puppy remains found in northern Siberia, about 40 kilometers from Tumat, the nearest village. One was found in 2011 and the other in 2015 at what's now called the Silok site. This is also around the last 3,000 years that animals such as different populations of woolly mammoth, rhino. You could say rhinos probably survived until somewhere around 8 to 9,000 years ago, and then woolly mammoths, not including like the small islands they would be um, stranded on for like the next, you say 11,000 years. Most of the large megafauna would die out by like the next 2 to 3,000 years. The puppies were discovered in layers of soil preserved in ice along the bones of woolly mammoths, some of which showed signs of having been burned and processed by humans. So, I'm also guessing it's in this region, it's not going to be um, Neanderthals that are going to be. Oh no, by this point, true Neanderthals are already extinct. I mean, the last true Neanderthals, they disappeared somewhere around 36 to 38,000 years ago. I don't know what type of a hominid this is. Also, really don't specialize in that field. This led scientists to wonder if the site was once used by humans to butcher mammoths and whether the puppies might have had a connection to people, possibly as early dogs or tamed wolves that hung around humans for food. There are no visible injuries or signs of attack to the cubs, I mean pups, and so they were likely to have been inside an underground den, resting after their meal until a potential landslide collapsed their home, trapping the cubs inside. The new study, oh, that's unfortunate. So, like, just having the massive landslide that would, or yeah, some sort of landslide apparently trapped the cubs inside. The new study, based on genetic data from the animal's gut contents and other chemical fingerprints found in their bones, teeth, and tissue, that the way they were living, what they were eating, and the environment they existed in points to the puppies being wolf cubs, pups, and not really domesticated dogs. Okay, well, this is, yeah, really good to hear. I mean, that's probably about the best upgrade you can get for dogs. It turns out it's actually a wolf. Both were already eating solid food, including woolly rhinoceros meat and, in one case, a small bird called a wagtail. However, that's funny. There's a wagtail that's been found in the chemical isotopes. However, their bodies still showed signs of having nursed, meaning they were likely still getting milk from their mother, too. Wow, that's interesting. Despite being found near human modified mammoth bones, there's no evidence of the cubs consuming mammoth. But the piece of woolly rhinoceros skin found in the stomach of one of the cubs has not been fully digested, suggesting they died not long after their last meal. Yeah, it must have been within hours, if that. It is thought that the woolly rhinoceros may have been a young calf rather than a fully grown adult, and likely hunted by the adult pack and fed to the cubs. But even if this was the case, a young woolly rhinoceros would have been considerably bigger than the prey modern day wolves typically hunt. Um, you can still have it where these wolves are going after animals that weigh over 2,000 pounds. So, depending on the size of the woolly rhino, and we're talking about individual probably weighed somewhere around um, what, 2 to 3 tons. They could have taken down the calf. It's just a lot harder with rhinos just because of their overall build. Probably would have also had much smaller horns, just easier to take down. This has led the authors to think that these Pleistocene may have been somewhat bigger than the wolves of today. Previous DNA testing suggests that the cubs most likely belonged to a wolf population that eventually died out and did not lead to today's domestic dogs. It was probably a subspecies of Canis lupus that ended up dying out. So technically, this is the same species as today's wolves. It was just a distinct subspecies. At least that's my guess. It was incredible to find two sisters from this era so well preserved, but even more incredible that we can tell so much of their story down to the last meal that they ate, said Anne Catherine Runge, researcher at the University of York. The original hypothesis that the Tumat puppies were dogs is also based on their black fur color, which is believed to have been a mutation only present in dogs, but the Tumat puppies challenge that hypothesis as they are not related to modern dogs. I wonder if this conflicts with the like new theories that were coming out recently with why um, black wolves today happen to have um, or why certain wolves today have black fur. Whilst many will be disappointed that these animals are almost certainly wolves and not early domesticated dogs, they have helped us get closer to understanding the environment at the time, how these animals lived, and how remarkably similar wolves from more than 14,000 years ago are to modern day wolves. It also means that the mystery of how dogs evolved into the domestic pet we know today deepens. As one of our clues, the black fur color may have been a red herring, given its presence in wolf cubs from populations not related to domestic dogs. Yeah, so a lot apparently is changing when it comes to the evolution of dogs. There's still a lot of debate. Then, like, there was the constant push of dogs supposedly evolving between 36,000 to 40,000 years ago, but that's still and also where directly did they come from? It's constantly being pushed back and forth with different theories. Tiny fossilized plant remains were discovered in the cubs' stomachs, indicating that they lived in a diverse environment with a variety of plants and animals to consume, including prairie grasses, leaving from leaves, subgenus Dryas, and willow twigs. This is not the similar prairie that you see in like different areas of North America or even possibly parts of southern Russia or Mongolia that you see today. It was much more, um, well, technically it was referred to as the Mammoth Steppe, which there is a little bit of it that still remains in part of Russia, but it's very distinct. It's not as dry in some instances as the prairie today. It also hosted a wide variety of different types of soils, grasses, and even the different types of bovids or bison that would occur in these ranges. Rhinos could not sustain themselves in today's prairies. This suggests the landscape they inhabited, including different types of habitats that could rich and varied ecosystems. We know gray wolves have been around as a species for hundreds of thousands of years based on skeletal remains from paleontological sites. Yes, the wolves were around during at least the into the late Pleistocene, so over 300,000 years. And researchers have done DNA testing of some of those remains to understand how the population changed over time, said Dr. Nathan Wales, also from the University of York. The soft tissues preserved in the Tumat puppies, however, give us access to other ways of investigating wolves in their evolutionary line. We can see that their diets were varied, consisting of both animal meat and plant life. Much like that of modern wolves, we have an insight into their breeding behaviors too. I'm going to guess, though, that Pleistocene wolves are probably more carnivorous during the Ice Age than opposed to different subspecies of wolf today, which tend to be much more herbivorous. You know, as you get further north, especially in different parts of North America, Europe, and even parts of northern Russia, they tend to also become more carnivorous. We can see that. So we have an insight into their breeding behaviors too. The pair were sisters and likely being reared in a den and cared for by their pack. All common characteristics of breeding and raising of offspring in wolves today. Today, litters are often larger than two, and it is possible that the Tumont puppies had siblings that escaped their fate. Usually, gray wolves on average have around 3 pups. There may also be more cubs hidden in the permafrost or lost to erosion. Yeah. That's unfortunate. The hunting of an animal as large as a woolly rhinoceros, even a baby one. I don't think these wolves are going after like full grown Coelodonta, which is the genus of woolly rhino that occurred in different parts of Russia at this time. Could have weighed over 3 tons. Also had much more robust and longer horns than today's white rhinos. And we do have a mummified specimen of a Coelodonta from Russia. Wait, was it Russia or the Yukon? I don't remember. Suggests that these wolves are perhaps bigger than the wolves we see today, but still consistent in many ways because wolves still tend to hunt easy prey while some of the pack is engaged in cub rearing. Probably by easy prey means going after young rhinos, deer at the time, mammoths. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on this pair of wolf pups that unfortunately died in a landslide at the end of the Pleistocene epoch or Ice Age in the comments. And thank you for joining Creature Guy Live. Now let's move on to the next article, final article by outdoors.com. Why are you popping up? There we go. Some orcas. Orcas fight sperm whales off the Australian coast. Well, this is interesting. Mainly because sperm whales, they're usually much deeper in the depths. Orcas don't tend to dive much more than 3,000 feet, whereas sperm whales will dive to over 7,000 feet below sea level. They are the third deepest diver in the ocean when it comes to marine mammals. It's basically them, and then the southern elephant seal reaches also somewhere around, I think, close to 7,500 feet below sea level. And then there's the Cuvier's beaked whale, which reaches even further below the ocean. There's also three distinct species of sperm whale. So there's the there's the sperm whale, then there's the pygmy sperm whale and the dwarf sperm whale. So the pygmy sperm whale, they reach around 11 feet in length and might get to around 1,100 pounds. They're also very distinct in look compared to the sperm whale itself, larger sperm whale species. You'd almost think you're looking at a species of porpoise. And then there's the dwarf sperm whale, which is even smaller. The dwarf sperm whale might reach a length around 8 feet and not weigh much more than 800 pounds. They also do not inhabit the Arctic or the Antarctic oceans and tend to stick to warmer waters of the Pacific, the Atlantic, and Indian Oceans. So, an Australian whale watching crew witnessed a fight between orcas and sperm whales and caught it on video during an expedition this week. Also, when it comes to the overall population of the largest sperm whale, which there have been several different estimates as to how large a sperm whale can reach, but the males are also larger than the females. Sperm whales can reach a length of around 78 feet and reach, I think, over like 70 tons. So that's a very large individual. And they tend to mostly just feed on a variety of giant squid underneath the surface, like over 7,000, at least over 6,500 feet below the surface. And they can hold their breath for around 90 minutes. Whereas orcas don't usually hold their breath for much more than 15 minutes. Also, orcas don't reach much more than 11 tons, looking at certain subpopulations. And orcas, what is it? They have a population worldwide of around 50,000 individuals, whereas sperm whales, there's an estimate of somewhere between, was it 800,000 to 1.5 million sperm whales. Not sure about the dwarf and pygmy ones, though. In the video shared by Naturaliste Charters Whale Watching, you can see the whales swimming and thrashing in the water. Okay, so here's the orca pod. Yeah, so it was taking place at the surface. I'd find it quite, um, I don't think these animals would have a easy time taking down the sperm whale, like, in the depths that, um, like, at 3,000 feet. That would be really hard, just the pressure on them. Oh, is that the sperm whale that came out of the water just earlier? Okay, I think there he is. That's okay. Well, usually orcas tend to go after weakened, sperm whales or their young. They're not going to go after a full-grown adult. Also, the adult just avoids them. But, there's looks like there's 3 sperm whales here. I wonder if they're protecting a calf. Also, sperm whales have the loudest, um they create the loudest noise of any marine mammal in the ocean. It's around 236 decibels, which is in low frequency sound. Um, so that's quite amazing. They explained that the fight spanned 6.2 nautical miles on March 24th, 2025, near Bremer Canyon, Australia. Although it's not uncommon for orcas to hunt sperm whales, the crew said they believed the confrontation was over food as the animals were migrating through the area. Um, so like the sperm whales and orcas were competing for what? Krill? During a confrontation, they said sperm whales will usually use their immense size and power to scare away would-be assailants, but instead huddled together and to fight in a tight defensive formation. Then the orcas left without preying on them. Yeah, 3 sperm whales and orca pod usually is just going to leave alone. They're just simply outmuscled. Might even be outsmarted in certain rates because orcas, despite them being stereotyped as like the smartest cetacean out there, and they are incredibly smart. Even the larger whales like blue whales and humpbacks, they know to come to people whenever they get stuck in a net, because they know that people created the nets and they must know how to get them out. So they're pretty smart as well. Now, it's not just that. I mean, it's also when it comes to the variety of food they're having to feed on, where they need to travel to get to the different krill locations, where they need to move to give birth to their young or breed. There's a lot of intelligence behind this. Looking at the evidence left behind, the crew believed the orcas stole food from the sperm whales, possibly a giant or colossal squid. Really? That's interesting. They also found whale poop when they say sperm whales tend to release their bowels as a defense mechanism to ward off predators. That I didn't know. I applaud the sperm whales. Okay, well, is that it? Yeah. Well, let me know what your thoughts are on the sperm whale orca confrontation off the coast of Australia. So it is unfortunate that these two are not mates. But um, that's it for the animal news of the day. Remember to like, comment, and if you love talking about animals, share the show with everyone you know. Because, oh, and do not forget to catch our live streams at 6 p.m. Central, Friday through Saturday, and Sunday at 3 p.m., as well as the rest of our morning daily news live streams from Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. And thank you for joining Creature Guide Live, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.